The Kenya Wildlife Service and the Lewa Wildlife Conservancy have begun conducting a rhino ear-notching exercise across the Lewa-Borana landscape. The aim of the exercise is to notch 30 critically endangered black rhinos on the Lewa-Borana landscape, which is home to 14% of Kenya's rhino population. Each rhino will be given an identity by making a unique notch pattern on their ears. Black rhinos are an endangered species throughout their range due to poaching. The exercise will be completed in 1 week.
This is long.
Getting that show.
Nachukua picha hii. Mpaka hapo.
Sasa, please, can I please?
Ndio hiyo imeanza kuchaji. Gurumisha gari, my friend.
Rhinos are endangered species, very highly endangered, and KWS takes priority in monitoring and protecting their populations. So the exercise we are doing today is we are putting identification marks, what we call ear notches. We are doing ear notching here in Lewa. We have done it in other conservation areas, but today we are in Lewa. The exercise involves capturing rhinos using chemical immobilizations. We have a team of experienced wildlife veterinarians and scientists and rangers and security personnel.
I have my dart and my drug and a specialized gun. I'll be in the helicopter and you will see me fire the darts from my gun into the rhino, and it will take about 5 to 10 minutes depending on the particular animal, and then the animal will go down, and once it goes down I will jump off the helicopter and stabilize the animal, and from that point, when I am sure the animal is well and good, then the rest of the team can go on with putting on the notch patterns.
It's one of the strongholds of black rhinos in the country. Between us, that's Lewa, and our neighbor, that's Borana Conservancy, of which we are working together at the moment. We hold up to 14% of all the rhinos in the country. Rhinos in the country are being managed as a meta population, so whatever happens here, we are taking consideration of what is happening in the other areas.
Well, indeed, the rhinos, quite a very, very valuable piece of wildlife. We must conserve them. Well, let's shift gears now and take a look at some of the issues that have befallen the industry this week. And one of them was the shutdown by the government that saw the government shutting down 3 media stations, and up to now we are still off air. Only that we are live streaming on our website, and that is www.ktnews.com. And I'm now joined by Ken Gishinga to just also pick his mind on what he thinks about this from a commercial point of view. And of course, at a global level, what does this say about Kenya's regime?
Honestly, this was a very difficult week. Whether you're pro-government or pro-opposition, Kenya was not in a good place. From the media perspective, I think a lot of revenue worth of commercials was lost. It's not right for me to apportion blame on any segment, but I think from the international community, the lack of information created some unrest from the investor community. That didn't play out in the markets. In fact, the shilling strengthened because of other forces, but it's something that we hope would come to an end much sooner rather than later.
So looking at a global standpoint, Kenya has been the beacon of stability. for the region and also setting the pace for East Africa. Perhaps, do you feel this has any implications in eroding our global image as a destination for investors, as a destination for tourists, and also upholding the rule of law?
Well, it depends if this is a blip or it's a long-term trend. If it's a blip, investors know emerging markets always have some uncertainty. They price that in when they're investing. But if it becomes a trend, then obviously it becomes a challenge, because we've said Kenya has been, the reason Kenya really attracts foreign direct investment is because it's supposed to be a stable political economic zone, and companies, American companies, we've seen the JP Morgans want to come into this market.
Sure.
One of the reasons they want to be in Kenya is because it's known to be a place of constitutionalism, a place where services are guaranteed and contract enforcement. So for me, I think a lot of investors will say these kind of things happen in emerging markets. But I think if this goes on for another 2-3 weeks, then I think people might take a different view. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. And some say that being a second term in office for President Uhuru Kenyatta, he's going to be more outspoken and assertive. And this, of course, is also expected to spill over to even how he runs government from a point of austerity measures and also implementing the Big Four agenda.
Yes, it's true, but he's also thinking about his legacy, and he wants to have a fantastic legacy. If you look at Kibaki 1 and Kibaki 2, Kibaki 2 being the second administration, he did far much better. Economically, we hit almost 7%.
Sure.
That's when all the infrastructure rollouts came out. And I believe in his heart of hearts, Uhuru would want to leave a legacy that will sort of precede him. So that said, Uhuru has been a student of the Western philosophy. He went to the States for college. So really, he understands what a liberalized economy needs, and part of that means information is flowing freely. So I don't think this is going to be a trend. I think this was a knee-jerk reaction, and also something very unprecedented. I don't think there's anywhere in this continent where the leader of the opposition has also attracted such a huge crowd and so on himself. I think the historians would have to tell us when that happened. I know we saw that with Besigye in Uganda, but that was a much smaller crowd.
Sure.
Nothing compared to what we saw on Tuesday. So I'd like to think that all the government hats are on the table. Everybody's thinking this through, and I really, really hope that we can get back on air as soon as possible, because, as you say, lack of information creates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates risk, and investors do not like risk. Yeah.
They prefer more of a predictable
environment, as you say.
All right. And Ken, January is over. Now we're in the month of February. Perhaps with hindsight, how did January perform from a point of the markets? We did see the NSE 20 share index closing from the 3,000 mark, going upwards 3,500. Today it's at 3,777 points. And from an investor's point of view, what would you say has characterized the markets in the first month of the year?
I think for me it started off very well. I think we saw rain on the first 3 days of this year, which told us the issue of drought was not going to be a big problem. We saw all the banks giving reports of 5.5, 5.6 growth. For me, I was very excited. We saw Safaricom hitting 30 shillings, and I was very excited about that. The events of the past 1 week has sort of made me sort of review those expectations a bit. I don't think the political cycle is fully over. I think it might play a part in 2018. I think the issue of relegating politics to 2017 and saying 2018 will be an entirely business year, I don't think that's the case. I think from what we saw on Tuesday is this is going to be it's going to be part. It might not be as big a part as last year, but it's definitely going to factor in. But, I mean, the markets have pretty much taken things very well. We saw the shilling hitting 101.99. The best it's done since December 2016. So for me, it's the issue of national cohesion. I think all everything is lined up for success for this country. But if we really can't get some issues of natural cohesion or issues around the political economy, then it's going to be what you call sort of like a mixed bags of prospects.
All right. And finally, Ken, we've seen governors also trying to assemble their teams, naming cabinets, and trying to sort of outline their quote-unquote manifestos at a county level. And of course, devolution is one of the key cogs that has also been championing the economic performance. And from a devolution point of view, do you feel governors are being proactive enough so as to hit the ground running? We've seen in some instances in the county of Nakuru, the governor has been at the forefront trying to revive the pyrethrum sector. We're seeing in Mombasa, Ali Hassan Joho trying to invest more in medical care and improving garbage collection, garbage management. He hinted at raising the fees that traders pay at the markets. And governors are sort of trying to see, how do I boost revenue collection?
I would not use the phrase hit the ground running. I think it's been slower than we expected. If you really think about it, most of these governors got sworn in, got into office August 8th, really. And between August 8th and October 26th, there was really no work that was done because it was a very politically charged environment. Second of all, we saw money from the treasury to the county government was quite delayed. I think it almost 4 months delayed. So I think for many governors, January really has been the beginning of devolution. And even then, it was towards the end of January, only last week, that we saw the appointment of the cabinet secretary for devolution. That was Eugene Wamalwa. So I think this is really the first week, if you like, where sort of like all hands have been on deck, and it's not been a pretty 1 week with the events. So I think February is where we'll see the best laid plans really coming through in terms of, you said, will we get an airport in Nakuru? You know, will we get oil flowing from Turkana? All these strategic questions we've been asking, possibly February is the month that we're going to see them. But really, really hoping that, again, that the political cycle doesn't interfere with those prospects. And we also saw the Minister for Petroleum coming in. And because petroleum, I think, is going to be a game changer for this country. This country is really not known for natural resources, but the issues of petroleum, I think, could make Turkana County a very powerful player in terms of Kenya's economic outlook. But in terms of devolution, I think we're still very hopeful. But I think really for a lot of people, you really have to say this is the moment devolution is truly beginning.
All right.
Yeah.
And as it begins, you're almost wrapping up the show. Many thanks, Ken.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your company.
Always a pleasure.
Well, Ken Gishinga there talking on matters to do with how the markets performed and, of course, giving a forward outlook for the country. Well, we want to leave it at that point. It's been a pleasure bringing you the highlights from the business world. My name is Abegina. Have a lovely weekend ahead and ensure that it is productive.